Hello, everybody. Welcome to Garage Geek and the first Friday night chats of the new year, 2023. We made it. So let's just jump right in. I just finished the ceremony. It's a Latin ceremony of Rosca de Reyes. So I didn't know this ceremony until I was with my husband. And basically on this day, you celebrate the kings. I think my dogs are going to be a problem in this video because it's already 7:30 here, and they know they need to go in at 8 for their snacks. So stop. Anyways, so you buy this cake. It's in the ring. It's like not a cake, like a bread, and it's actually really delicious when it's done right, and it's got like these decorations on the top, like licorice. And inside you hide 3 babies. They give you these baby rings. They're supposed to represent the baby Jesus. And so you jam these baby Jesus into the bread. And then everybody has to choose. And so you cut into the cake. And if you get the baby, either when you cut or when you bite into it, then you're supposed to buy tamales for everyone in like a month or something. It's like a set date. Anyways, we do this every year, and I was lucky this time. I didn't get one of the baby Jesuses, so I didn't have to eat the baby Jesus. I don't know. I just think that's a weird custom, but not any weirder than any other holiday custom, I guess. So, eating baby Jesuses in your bread. So we did that, and it's always fun. My daughter went to Hawaii, and she was doing her paddleboard today, and it flipped over, and she broke her glasses, and she lost one of the lenses in the ocean. So I was like, that's going to be an expensive flip, right? But otherwise, she's having a good time. She's sending pictures from the beach and the mountains. Of course, it's gorgeous over there. So I'm envious. So I've got a short list today. I do want to say that there's a lot going on right now in YouTube because I guess, so many people are still on vacation. So many videos. I'm so behind. And when I watch people's end of the year or top 10s or all these things, I always want to do something with it. Like I want to, record part of it. Okay, Angel. I want to record part of it and I want to respond to it. So it's going to take me a long time to get around to a lot of these videos. But I figure if people make videos like this, then they should get some kind of response more than a comment. That's just the way I feel. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into making these videos. And especially since so many of these videos, I haven't heard of most of the albums. So it's a good learning curve for me. All right, so let's just jump right in. I finished one book. I did start a new one. I did start Ubik, but I didn't get very far in it. So I'm going to continue reading that tonight. Oh, my dog is like rubbing up on me. Okay, so I finished one book, and this was recommended by a YouTuber in England. Oh, I'm forgetting his name. As you can see, I turned on my iPad. What's his name? I'm going to be kicking myself. He always reviews the Booker Prize, and he reviews books, and he's so good. Okay, I'm so bad about names, but I'm going to try to remember him for the next video because that's just wrong. All right, so this is the book I read, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and that's from a famous Shakespeare speech by Macbeth. After I finished with this book, I looked up about 5 different versions of that speech done by Kenneth Branagh. Oh my gosh, he had a lot of drool coming out of his mouth. Ian McClellan. Who else? Patrick Stewart. There was about 5. And I watched, Denzel Washington. That's 4. I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? So anyways, I was watching different versions of them do that particular speech. Anyway, so the book name is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And the premise of it was intriguing to me, and whenever this guy recommends a book, pretty much I know it's going to be at least really, really interesting, right? And so I decided to give this one a try, and I'm glad I did, especially because I was interested in the subject matter. And it's about two people, when they're young, they meet, and then they have like a lifelong friendship, making video games. And so it really gives you, not only does it really build characters well, but it also gives you some insight into what it was like to make video games in the early stages, right? It's totally different now. I recommend it. It was a really, really good book. Now, after I was finished with the book, it's being savaged online. Some people really like it. Some people hate it. Some people don't like it for the way the characters are drawn or the situations. I found nothing wrong with it, and I really enjoyed this book. I thought the pacing was good. It kept me interested. It is obviously a plot-driven book, and every once in a while, I need one of those. I really need one, and I'm not going to say this is pulp. It's not. It was really well written. It kept my interest. So it's got to be well written in some sense if it keeps you going for that long. So anyways, but I didn't feel it was pulp at all. So this book, to me, is recommended. It's not like one of these really serious literary books, but it is very good, very well written, and I enjoyed the subject matter. So keep that one on your radar tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And then throughout the book, you find out why that title is there. And I especially wanted to know why this famous painting by Hokusai, Hokusai or Hiroshige. Now I'm having trouble. So anyways, I know this painting, the wave Kanagawa. I was wondering why that was on the cover, and it is explained in the book. So I was happy that there was some kind of connection there as well. So that was the only book that I read. Like I said, I started reading Ubik, and I have trouble with Philip K. Dick's writing. It's very, in many ways, technobabble to me. There's always like a lot of these words thrown in that, just seem to be there just to create this sci-fi world. And it's so much to the point sometimes that it's overwhelming. I think I have trouble with Neuromancer for that same reason. But anyways, this one isn't too bad. I got through that technobabble part. I think some people really like it for that reason, but for me, that's not something I really like. But I am really enjoying it. The premise of this at the very beginning, I think it changes, but I just want to explain it. It's not really a spoiler. People, when they die, can be preserved, and living people can contact them through this kind of neural net. But every time you contact them, it half-lives, and so you can only contact them so many times. I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. That's how it starts, right? And I think it's going to change from there. I also started reading Gideon Falls last night, the volume 2. And just like always, I'm drawn in. I want to keep reading. The art, to me, is just gorgeous. I love the way it's laid out. I like the lines and how they're drawn. I don't know if you can. Let's go ahead and see that. Maybe can you see that art? I mean, this is just a panel on a page, and there's a lot of splash pages, and the covers are gorgeous. Sorry, I'm going to try to find one of the splash pages that I came across. Oh gosh, look at that. Wait. Let me see if I can get that right. So this person vomits up all of these cockroaches on someone else, and it's a double splash page, right? And that's how an entity goes from one person to another. But look at that. I know that's gorgeous, but also disturbing art, and that's what you're gonna get. I highly recommend Gideon Falls, and I can't wait to keep reading it. I'm only like a sliver into it, like 2 or 3 comics in. Okay, I'm gonna put this graphic novel back down, and it's going to shake this because my tripod is there we go, is hooked to the table that I'm on there. All right, so after the book, I'm just going to go in order of the pictures because I got pictures of all of them. That one's my Face ID. All right. Today, I just finished this today. This is Alice in Borderland. So this is an 8-part series on Netflix. It's actually season 2. And this is one of those game, like, you have to take part in games to see who lives and dies types of story. Like, Hunger Games or Squid Games or the really famous Battle Royale. Okay, so yeah, this thing existed before Hunger Games, right? So Battle Royale came before that. So anyways, this one takes place in Tokyo, mostly Shinjuku. And the second season, like the first season, I can't remember exactly, but I was thinking that they were always like restricted to these small areas like inside of buildings, and you didn't get this grand scale. Maybe at the beginning you did, but this season I don't think they spared any expense. In fact, I was wondering how they did it, because there are many times I've been to Shinjuku, and I wonder, in Shibuya Station, I wonder how they got that and filmed there. And in some parts it was empty, and I just think it would be like filming in, Times Square. And I know they've done it. They've done it for I think a Tom Cruise movie, and they did it for the Will Smith movie where I Am Legend. Is that the name of it? I Am Legend. Yeah, based on the Richard Matheson story. So I know like they're able to do it, but that would just cost millions. And I wondered if they just did it by CGI or somehow. But anyways, let's talk about the show. So there's a bunch of characters, and they're trapped, and they have to compete in all these games to see, who will win and who will die. And I really like those kind of programs. In fact, I was one of those people that was like goo goo gaga over Squid Game. That one, I'll never forget that one episode where they're crossing that glass bridge. And if you haven't seen that episode, that is some craziness. Like, I was on the edge of my seat for that entire section of the game. That game was crazy. So anyways, there are some really fun and interesting games. The pacing is so totally different in this show than in any of these other shows. So you expect it to be fast, right? Not this one. Some of these games go over 2 or 3 episodes. And the one really, really big problem I have with the show, there's 2 big problems I have with the show. The first big problem I have is the pacing. So there's a lot of downtime where the characters are just talking and normally I don't mind that, but it's excessive. And then there are so many death scenes. And I hate to say this is like typical Japanese, but the deaths are so stoic. Like, they will go on for 15, 20 minutes, and the people are just pontificating about life. And it's like they're all philosophers, and so when he vanquishes his enemy in the game, you see the nobility of it's like, to me, that is so Japanese, and it's so boring, right? I'm just like, die already. Let's get out with the show. I don't care what you learned about life. I mean, it's okay when they do it once or twice, but seriously, like 50 deaths in this, not that many, but so many deaths where people are just going on. I mean, like, you were just shot 10 times, and you're going to sit there and die over 15 minutes talking about life back and forth. I don't know. I was just like, please die, please die. And I'm usually not like that. But was the show in, oh wait, I said the second problem I have with it. So the philosophizing about death, and there was one more thing, like there's something else about the show that just kind of really bugged me, and now I'm drawing a blank. But overall, I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I could recommend it. If you like this style and you don't mind a slower pace, the games in it are fun. There was one game in particular, like, they thought out the games and they made them interesting, but there was just one game that had so many holes, and I just thought, wow, they didn't think that game through. It didn't make any sense. but all the other ones they did. So I was wondering like why they did that. Okay, so I'm gonna remember the other reason why this show was driving me nuts. Besides the death and the philosophizing, maybe I already said it, but no, I just can't remember. And then I found I didn't do any research on this show, but then afterwards, I found out that there's a manga for it, and now I kind of want to read it. Yeah, I read it. Alice in Borderland. So, yeah. So there was that show. And then another show that I watched this week was Night Sky. And this was on Amazon Prime. And so this one I can unequivocally state that I enjoyed and I would recommend. I would highly recommend it if you like sci-fi. It's a very different take on sci-fi. Like the main characters are two older people, and we're looking at this experience through their eyes. And so the actors are phenomenal. It's Sissy Spacek and J.K. Simmons. I mean, they're both powerhouse actors. And the premise is, I'm not giving anything away because it's like right in the promo. So this older couple, they have a doorway that leads to some kind of transportation chamber. And when you step inside it, it transports you to another planet where there's a viewing room and there's this giant glass where they can go and see like an alien landscape, and they've kept it to themselves. They have no idea why it's there, and for 20 years they've just been wondering about it, but going and enjoying that. Well, then things start happening that forces them to deal with this, but we're also dealing with issues of old age and mortality and love over time. And I thought it was a really good take on sci-fi, and I was very sad that this wasn't renewed. After I finished it, really enjoyed it all the way through. They also set it up so that there could be a focus on younger characters moving forward, just in case the two leads, couldn't come back or only wanted to do a little bit more. But it was canceled because not enough people. This is bugging me. This is like sticking. I keep saying I need to trim this, but then I don't want to because I'm trying to grow this. Ugh. Okay, it won't move over. So it hasn't been renewed. And it was a shame, and I read online it was because it didn't find the audience for the cost. And I thought, what a shame, because the acting was great, the show was great, the situation was great. It was intriguing. I wanted to find out more. And I don't want to spoil anything. So last week I reviewed 1899, and I was pretty harsh on it. And I still, Beardy Red Viking, I still want to go back and watch The Dark season 1, because it's a very complex show, so that I can move on to season 2 and season 3. I really, really want to do that. And this show was made by them, but by the end of this show, I didn't care about the characters, the situations. I just wanted it to be done. And then this one also wasn't renewed. And that's also a shame, too, because they did set up something that I think could have paid off. I think they had a 3 or 4 season arc planned. And it's always a shame, right? So maybe the first season was rocky. They could have fixed some of the things. I would have definitely watched another season. I'm not one of these people that will abandon something. I will keep watching it just to see where it goes. Which also brings me to Walking Dead. So Walking Dead season, I think 11, premieres on Netflix this week. And I'm one of these people that I won't give up on it. I am going to watch it to the end. I still think it has a lot to say, and it's still interesting. So many fans abandoned it after what happened with Negan and the two characters on the show. They were killed very brutally, and then it slowly lost viewership. And then when Rick left the show, everyone was just like, no, we're done. We're just over it. And I couldn't understand it. I was like, you've been along for this ride so long. But I guess for many people, the time is too precious. You're not going to spend it. But I'm not a casual fan of The Walking Dead. Like, I've been reading the comics way before the show, and I've been invested in the characters, and I want to see where it goes. I want to see what they do and how they end it. So I'm definitely along. I'm going to be watching season 11. You'll probably hear me talking about that either next week or within the next couple of weeks. But that brings me back to these shows. Like, I will stick around and see what they have, even if it's rocky, just because I want to see, what they're doing, where they're going. I don't know, that's just me. Please, in the comments, I know a lot of people don't do that. Like, if the season one isn't real, like if the season one is horrible, like if I can't even, there have been shows where I watch like 1 or 2 episodes and I'm like, no. But if I get through the whole season and then they make another one, then I definitely want to watch it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going on and on. Let's move on. Okay, so after Night Sky, a friend of mine, she lives in Iowa and she's been inundated with snow, so much snow there. So anyways, she recommended this movie, Athena. So it was one of these movies where they do interesting things with cameras. So in this movie, there are a lot of these really, really long shots that have to be planned out. And to me, that's really interesting. The opening, if you don't do anything else, you should watch the opening. I don't even know how long it is, 15, maybe 30 minutes. It is one long choreographed battle scene that is beyond belief how they filmed this, because it just goes nonstop. And this movie is about, it takes place in France, and I believe it's France. And it's really so the whole plot of it arises over some, you just yawned on camera, on police brutality, right? So I won't say more than that. And so it starts with a riot, right? And it's centered on, I think, it's either 3 or 4 brothers. The movie is about 3 or 4 brothers. But you should watch this. It's on Netflix. Just watch the first, like I said, 20, 30 minutes just to see that technically brilliant scene. But the whole movie is really good. It's intense. Don't start that, Aries. Okay. What are you doing? Ooh. Okay. And then the last thing that I have to talk about today, I'm sure I'll find something else to ramble on about, but the last thing I'm going to talk about today is licorice pizza. So I have now finished all 10 of the Best Pictures nominees for 2022. I'm a list person. I don't often finish things, so I'm very happy when I do. So I finished all 10. And so I ended with this movie, Licorice Pizza. This is the one I least wanted to see. It just sounded, dumb to me. Okay, I just didn't want to see it. And I'm very surprised, because this is about a taboo issue. There's a woman who's 28 going, like, she's friends with a 15-year-old, and throughout the whole movie, like, the 15-year-old is pursuing her, but it just seemed like such a taboo subject to make a movie about, right? And so I didn't know that when I watched, like, before I watched it. I was like, wow, I'm surprised that not only did this get made, but it also was an Academy Award nominated film. And you can see that there's a scene in this movie with Sean Penn and Tom Waits. Now, that brings star power to this movie, but that whole scene should have been cut. It was bloated. It was over the top. It wasn't necessary. I hated it. They were just hamming it up. If you've seen this movie, what do you think of that scene? I just think it shouldn't have been there. And it was only to bring in that star names. It was bad. But I enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought it was funny. It was quirky. The characters are very quirky. There's one thing that I want to mention. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but this movie doesn't employ the typically beautiful people. They looked regular. And I really like that about the movie now, especially, this is also weird to say, their teeth. And I was wondering if they actually doctored the people's teeth to make them look worse in the movie. Because I know Cooper Hoffman, so he's the son of the famous actor whose name is escaping me now. Okay, can't remember his name. But anyways, his tooth is messed up, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I would think that the child of an actor, they would get their teeth like fixed when they were really young. So I was just thinking, did they do that on purpose? Did they give him an imperfection, or did they put that in there, digitally? So sorry if your tooth is messed up, but it also seemed to be the same way with the other lead. So I don't want to fixate on teeth here, but it just seemed like they might have added some of these imperfections in digitally to make these characters stand out in some way. If anybody knows about that, I'd be really interested. And if I'm totally off base, sorry, you young actors. I don't want to like put your looks down or anything, because I would never do that. It just seemed like an interesting thing in this movie that they really did have actors who weren't like stunningly beautiful and like, the best skin and all of that. So I think on that note, like I laid a like an egg at the end of this video talking about people's looks. I'm done for this week. I've got a lot to catch up on YouTube. I'm looking forward. There's a new movie on Netflix that something about pale eyes. I really want to watch that one. I want to see Walking Dead. There's also a really interesting show on Netflix. I think it's a heist show where you can watch any of the episodes. It doesn't matter what order you watch them in. That's a really interesting gimmick, and I want to see how that plays out. I mean, I'll probably just watch the first one and watch them in order, but I mean, I guess you could watch the 9th one, and like, so they're made to like all. I just want to see how that plays out. That sounds really interesting. Music wise, I've just been focusing on a lot of the YouTube lists that people have been making, and I've been listening to those. It's a lot to digest, right? I just made a video about 5 videos that Guz69 recommended in a video from 2 years ago, 50 metal videos, and I thought that was such a great video that he made. So I just wanted to pick 10 and respond to them, and so today I responded to 5, and I'm going to respond to 5 others. It was a lot of fun to make. It was time consuming to make as well. But like I said, when people put a lot of time in and effort into these videos, I really want to kind of pay them back by saying, hey, I actually watched this, and I want to respond to it. And, just let people know, like, hey, we rattle off all this information. Oh, I love this album. I love this album. I love this album. But what are we doing with that information, right? Like, I mean, I'm always the person that's writing down the names of them, and then I go ahead and listen to them. I don't know if a lot of you do that. But to me, the point of watching a lot of these videos is for a learning experience. All right. I'm already at the 29-minute mark. Let's stop this. My dogs are ready to go in and get their snacks. You can see them. They're like crawling all over me. Please go ahead and leave any comments. Next week, I'm back to work. I had my 3 weeks off, and I'm crying because I had 3 weeks off, and I don't want to go back. I should be slapped, right? But anyways, thank you all again, and thank you for your support. Let me turn this off.